A new book is making bold claims about the final days of Donald Trump's presidency. According to a report from CNN, top members of the United States military were preparing for a scenario in which President Trump attempted to launch a coup, to install himself as president. CNN writes, quote, the top U.S. military officer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Mark Milley, was so shaken that then President Donald Trump and his allies might attempt a coup or take other dangerous or illegal measures after the November election that Milley and other top officials informally planned for different ways to stop Trump, according to excerpts of an upcoming book obtained by CNN. The book describes how Milley and the other Joint Chiefs discussed a plan to resign one by one rather than carry out orders from Trump that they considered to be illegal, dangerous, or ill-advised. So just how much truth is there to the report? Let me bring in somebody who was at the Defense Department in the closing days of the Trump administration, former Chief of Staff to the Acting Secretary of Defense, Kash Patel. Kash, you know all about this, man. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Buck. Appreciate you having me back.
So what happened here? I mean, just tell us, because you were around for it. You were at that level at the DOD. Milley saying that they won't effing succeed was the quote that they pulled from the book, meaning that the Trump coup that he was worried about, an actual order from the then commander-in-chief, President Trump, to the military to effectively seize power and prevent a transition. What the heck is going on?
Here's the one theme I hope your viewers take away from this. This is the total politicization of the Department of Defense and the national security apparatus that protects the United States government, and it's to the detriment of the U.S. people. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has one statutory function: to advise the president and the Secretary of Defense on matters of military. That is it. He is not in the chain of command by law. The national command authority goes from the president to the Secretary of Defense. So for the highest ranking uniformed military officer to go out and say through his minions in the media that he is planning to protect America against a possible coup without any evidence to support at the time that there was a coup going on, because there wasn't. I was there. I was in the room with the Secretary of Defense and the chairman on January 6th when Baghdadi was killed, when we did the Soleimani strike. Not once did he talk about President Trump's misdirections or failures as a president.
There's also a part of the book, excerpts from the book that are now being published and talked about by CNN and others, where they say that he warned, General Milley warned that firing the then CIA director and the then, I believe it was the then Secretary of Defense, would have been some kind of a red line. What can you tell us about that?
So once again, it seems that Chairman Milley is doing and saying whatever he can to save his job at the expense of the American public. At no point in time is it Chairman Milley's job to advise the president on who his cabinet officer should and should not be. Chairman Milley should go back and read the statute that appointed him chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and it's to provide advisory opinions to the president and the Secretary of Defense on matters of national security. Now, if you recall, let me tell you about the Chairman Milley I know. When I was briefing President Trump in the Oval Office with the PDB, or briefing him on other sensitive matters, and Chairman Milley was in the room, Chairman Milley agreed with every major decision President Trump made on national security. By the way, this was also the same chairman that would put photos on the Resolute desk and ask President Trump to sign them for his family, and leave the Oval Office with bags of President Trump paraphernalia and swag and merchandise for his family, time and time again. And then fast forward to now, and you have a reversal in the position that Chairman Milley has taken to show his continued politicization, because now he's running up to Capitol Hill to talk about white rage and how that's affecting our DOD more than Iran and Russia and China. So this man will literally say and do anything to keep his job. He is the most political operative in Washington, D.C., and he's supposed to be the one who's wearing our highest uniform.
Did you feel this way? Did you see this kind of stuff from Milley before he came out as the woke general? I'm sure you've seen some of those memes recently, and the general who now is claiming that he was ready to have a counter coup movement against then President Trump. I mean, is this surprising to you?
Look, I'm amazed that, no, it's not. I'm amazed that Milley's ego fits through the five sides of the Pentagon at this point. He can and says anything he wants to keep his job. And this is hurting the joint staff, who plays a critical role in advising our national security apparatus. Instead, he's out there parroting the Joint Staff and himself as the lone savior of the American Republic. This man is not supposed to be in the media. This role is not for public relations. It is a secure, high government role for the president and the Secretary of Defense. Yet, I bet you if you ask most Americans, they could tell you who Chairman Milley's name is and what he does, and they probably couldn't even tell you the name of the Secretary of Defense.
There was a piece earlier this week that was looking at, and it was picked up all across the media, an assessment of whether the Navy is actually ready to fight. I mean, I'm sure you saw this. The Navy's ready to fight an actual war, should it come to that, because of all the focus on wokeness, but just also the bureaucracy within the military and the way that promotions are something that people scheme for, almost like politicians, that effectively war fighting for, this was folks in the Navy, but more generally, is fading away. And these, as government institutions of politics and social engineering, the military, is becoming more and more prominent. How much of a concern is that for you? And do you feel like the Biden administration is exacerbating that? Is it staying roughly the same?
It's a big concern for me because you hit the nail on the head, Buck. When you are focusing on wokeism in the military and the continued politicization of the Pentagon and the Defense Department, what you lose focus on is preparing our Navy for war, which is why we have a Navy, to prepare and defend this nation, which is why we have an Army, an Air Force, a Space Force, and a Marine Corps. And when your top military advisor is busy leaking information so that CNN and the Washington Post can write books and media articles and politicize the role of the Defense Department, you must wonder how much of his time is he actually spending advising the president on matters of consequence, such as Iran's threat to America and what Russia and China are doing to our cyber infrastructure, and how can the Defense Intelligence Agency assist to protect our borders. And all of these are going by the wayside by this continued politicization.
Kash, just before we let you go, what should we do about the situation of the uprising now of the Cuban people against the communist regime there? Biden administration is not doing much. Mayor Suarez of Miami says maybe airstrikes. What do you think?
I don't think we're going to go down and interfere in the Cuban landscape, but obviously we would all cheer any shouts of freedom from Cubans in Havana, and we should support that wholeheartedly. But I don't know that we need to be engaging in any way, shape, or form on the island.
Kash, as always, very valuable. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Buck. Appreciate it.